It's Tuesday. You know what that means? Master Gardener program. Hope you're excited. Well, I just made it back from my Master Gardener class, so let's go in so I can tell you all about it. You can't see me. Someone's excited to see me. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning. I'm in my backyard, but we're not actually working in the backyard today. We are going to do some prep for my garden tour. Hope you're excited about that, but we're going to work in the north garden, or call it the shade garden. It's kind of overtaken, and then while I'm out there, I'm going to hit the free library area. So enjoy. It's going to be a what's the word? It's going to be a satisfying video. So I'm going to grab my bucket to put all the weeds in. And then it has my hoary. That's probably what I'm going to use today. And then my kneeling pad. And then obviously my gloves. So let's head over there. All right, let me show you what we're working with. See how overgrown? I know one thing, I can sure grow a weed. This is not too bad over here. There's the rose that we newly planted. It's kind of defoliating right now. Still green, still living. The caladium, they look really good, pretty. The pieris, I'm not sure about these, y'all. I'm going to do I've been reading online. I've been trying to hit it with chelated iron. I'm just not sure what's going on with it. So I'm going to do kind of like a severe prune back on it, because I heard it has a good response to that. And this one too. So hopefully maybe if I weed, it'll help it. And I've been trying to do regular watering and everything, but I don't know. So let's go up to the free library. If you'll remember, here's the free library. The grasses, they look great. But here's some weeds. That shouldn't take me too long. All right, so we just finished. I got the north garden or the shade garden, and I got around the free library, and I even did around a little bit of the sidewalk and the front door waterfall. So I'm not going to show you. You're going to have to check out my next video, the garden tour, to check to see how it looks. So I'm going to leave you on suspense. So let's go inside. Last week we talked about weeds in the Master Gardener class, so let's go talk about them. Okay, weed science and management in residential areas. So kind of like your neighborhood. Outline for our discussion: what are weeds, type, classification of weeds, and specific examples, weed seed dispersal and seed banks, integrating and using different methods of control. Learning objectives. Become familiar with weed definitions, understand the negative impacts that weeds and invasive species can have, be able to connect treatments with weed types and locations, learn how to integrate cultural, chemical, and mechanical weed control practices, understand the different types of weed herbicides and modes of action. So what is exactly a weed? A plant whose virtues have not been discovered, by Ralph Waldo Emerson. A plant out of place, Dr. William James Beale. Plants that are competitive, persistent, and pernicious. They interfere with human activities as a result, are undesirable. No, really. So what is a weed? Think about these criteria. Location. Is it growing outside its normal habitat? Growth. Is it outcompeting other plants in that area? Interference. What impact does it have on the people who manage the land? Well, one, they make them sweat. Applying the criteria. General characteristics of weeds. First, let's focus on why certain plants are a problem. Rapid growth or easily to maturity, multiple types of reproduction, seed, vegetation, roots, pollination that is not specialized, and range of seed strategies. General characteristics of weeds: deep, rapid rooting with reserves, adaptations that resist grazing, competitive advantages for light, water, etc., environmentally adaptable, and resistant to control strategies. Negative impacts of weeds: reduce crop yields, increase production, reduce forage, hay value, host for viral, fungal, and insect pests, interfere with construction and infrastructure, reduce aesthetics, recreation, land value, allergies, and toxicities. Like right now, my forearms are itching. Be aware that control is multifaceted. What is an invasive, non-native to an ecosystem whose introduction is likely to cause economic and environmental damage? A small percentage of non-natives become invasive. Native plants can also act invasive. Like kudzu is really bad here. Dealing with invasives. Actions to control should be based on ability to prevent, detect early, and control, extent of ecological damage, economic importance, and cost of management. And there's some weeds there. And there. These are just all these types of different weeds he was showing us. There's the kudzu. What can we do as gardeners? Be aware of problem species, promote less problematic alternatives, share information with citizens, participate in restoration removal projects, be balanced in our approach, understand the realities and cost of management. Weed types. So there's broadleaf, or they're the dicot, like dandelions, pigweed, and lamb's quarter. Grass, they're monocots like Bermuda grass, dally-grass, and crabgrass. And then sedges, monocots similar to grasses. The only difference between a sedge and a grass, sedges have edges. So if you kind of roll them, you'll feel kind of like a little bit of a sharpness. There's like a weed classification. I won't go too far into that. Annuals, biennials, and perennials. We all know what those are. They have the same classification as like as flowers. These are weed IDs, so you can like pause it if you're watching with your kids or something. Be like, if you don't know something, like I see like plantains and dock and dandelions, you can play a little game. See, what do you have in your garden, or can you identify all these different weeds? And then you can always, if this helps you, you can go to this website, and I believe there's some apps on your phone you can always look up also. And here's the life cycle of an annual weed at germination. That's where the seeds germinate. They start to grow. Growth, flowering, pollination, seed set, and plant dies. So shallow taproot system, reproduced by seed, don't need food reserves. And then here's some weed classification. Summer annuals, winter annuals, you can guess. They germinate in spring or fall. Hairy bittercress, common chickweed, lamian, henbit, annual bluegrass, purslane, amaranth, even morning glories, ragweed. Whew, if your allergies are on fire, it's because of this one. Yellow nutsedge. I have a lot of those. Not anymore. Southern crabgrass, smooth crabgrass. That's what I just pulled a lot. And a lot of this too. Prostate spurge. And weed classification. So the biennials, they live more than one growing season. Year 1, they germinate. Year 2, they flower. Queen Anne's lace, wild carrot, and I think they're beautiful. And just because if it's a weed and you like it, you don't have to pull it up. They're not really like a bad per se for the garden. If you think a Queen Anne's lace is pretty, you pretty much can classify a weed. Or if you want, like clover. Clover is technically a weed. I like clover, and a lot of people are going to those micro clover for ground cover. The clover that I have, it has little dainty yellow flowers, and I think they're so cool. So you don't have to get rid of a weed if you like it. Like the prostate spurge has like pink pink around it and the green leaves. I think it's kind of pretty, but I'd take it up anyway. Perennials, they live more than 2 years. Simple, spread by seed, and creeping. Weed types. The characteristics of a perennial, they have a deep root system, rhizomes, stolons, tubers. Reproduce primarily by the above and need food reserves to sustain plant through dormancy. And this is a life cycle of a perennial weed. Bermuda witchgrass, ground ivy. These are examples of perennial. Bulbous buttercup. See, I think buttercups are pretty. I'll leave those. Dandelion. Who's ever blown a dandelion and watched all the seeds float away? I know I did that as a kid. Plantains. Pokeweed. And I believe that's edible at a certain point. Yellow nutsedge. White clover. And then this is talks about seed production. Seeds of most weeds are very tiny. The plant has limited resources. Disturbed environments are risky. Tiny seeds spread the risk over many offspring. Seedlings can be small because in a recently disturbed environment, competition is limited. Germination cues. Seedlings compete poorly with established plants. So weed seeds need to know when other plants are absent. They respond to cues associated with absence of plants, near surface conditions, and soil disturbance. That's why like ground cover is a good weed deterrent. If there's not a place to grow, they're not going to grow. What is in soil seed bank? A plant's persistence is ensured by the seed bank. Seeds are deposited, stored, and later removed for use. Not all seeds survive. That's good. That's just most seeds come from a few large plants. Most agricultural weeds depend on humans for dispersal in feed grain, velvet leaf, and manure, on tractor tires and tillage machinery, on combines. That's a picture of a velvet leaf. Stationary perennials, mostly a problem of hayfields and pastures, usually not competitive the first year, easily eliminated by tillage, established from seed, control in adjacent habitats. And then wandering perennials, spread by thickened storage roots or by rhizomes, underground stems. Key points about weed spread. Breaking up perennials promotes sprouting. Tillage, surface conditions, and absence of plants stimulates germination always. Species have characteristic seasons. Seeds often persist in the soil for many years. They die at a constant rate, 4 decades for a lamb's quarter. Isn't that cool? Produce many small seeds, lots. Seed size control depth of emergence, ability to emerge through mulch and growth rate. It is easy to bring in new weed species. Did you know undisturbed weed seeds tend to persist longer than seeds subjected to periodic tillage? Seeds deep in the soil are stored below germination zone. Grass seeds tend to be less persistent than broadleaf weed seeds. The number of surviving seeds of most weed species declines rapidly the first year, but thereafter the rate of weed seeds decline slows. Some seeds can persist for decades. Identify the weed problem. Read textbooks and periodicals. Keep a diagnostic toolkit, hand lens, etc. Know the life cycle of the pest. Is the weed the cause or effect of the problem? Confirm your diagnosis. Control is best as a buffet approach. Buffet, oh my lord. Control is best as a buffet approach. Various methods to reach the goal. Several servings may be required. So like chemical, mechanical, like me pulling it out. Managing weeds. Maintain healthy gardening, prevent seed production, prevent seed germination, eliminate weed seedlings, target susceptible growth stages. It's best to control weeds when they have first, before they even germinate. Weed management strategy. Identify weed, life cycle, and habitat. Integrate control methods. There are preventative, cultural control methods, mechanical, biological, cultural, and chemical. I'd say chemical needs to be like your last. Cultural methods, sanitation, weed-free seed and plant material, weed-free topsoil, clean equipment, field borders, property edges, prevent weeds from going to seed. Cultural methods, stale seed bed, row spacing, and cover crops. Mechanical methods, tillage, hand removal, hoeing, mulching, and mowing. And then tillage, it controls many weeds that have emerged, could damage crop roots. Consider tillage in terms of soil management as well as weed management. Hand pulling and hoeing, I did enough of that this morning. Still used for weed control in high value crops, best control with small weeds. Mulches, consider application crop, material, natural or organic. Thickness affects weed suppression. Mulches, inorganic. Black plastic mulch, warm soils in spring suppresses weeds. Clear plastic, not as good, may allow weed growth. Other colors designed to reflect or transmit certain wavelengths. Irrigation required with all non-porous mulches. Mulch is natural, either straw, wood chips, pine straw, sawdust. All these organic materials effectively shade and physically hinder germinating weed seedlings. Solarization, use heavy grade clear plastic double layer, 1.5 to 4.0 millimeters thick, requires fallow time in summer, so it has to be bare and moist. Soil temperature, it's only effective 2 to 3 inches deep. Mowing, it's more effective on broadleaf weeds than grasses, more effective on annual than perennial weeds. Perennial weeds will take several years of continuous mowing to seed. Did you know breaking up perennials increase sprouts, but each sprout is weaker? Wild garlic. And use cultivation to flush weeds out of the soil seed bed. If seeds miss their annual opportunity, many may die before the next year. More die with tillage. Avoid seed production and guard against invasion of new weeds. Best practices for organic weed control. You have to identify the weed plant. Make sure the soil is friable, not wet or not dry, and only work your soil where you will be planting. And then manually dig up the seeds when the seedling is small. And then here's some best practices for organic weed control. Attempt to get all the roots. Remove the plant before it flowers. Cover exposed soil with leaf mulch. And you can spray with full strength white vinegar. Chemical control. Herbicide. Chemical that is used to control, suppress, or kill weeds by interrupting normal plant growth processes. But before you use herbicide, identify desirable plant and weed, read and understand herbicide label, follow mixing, application, storage, disposal, etc. Just read the directions. Herbicide selection factors. Identify the species. That's so important. I feel like we repeat that a lot. That's very important. Identify the problem, identify the species, identify herbicides, determine the tolerance, integrate management objectives, and obtain suitable safety and application equipment. Herbicide classification, contact, causes localized energy to plant tissues, does not readily translocate, and it's systemic, really translocates in plant tissues, glyphosate. Herbicide classification, there's pre-emergence like preen or post-emergence like Roundup. Herbicide classification, selective, kills some plant species but does not damage others. Non-selective, generally kills all plant species. Weeds and herbicides, annual weed seeds are most often best controlled using pre-emergent herbicides, and perennial broadleaf are usually controlled with post-emergent herbicides. Very useful information. And here are some examples of pre-emergent herbicides, and here's some examples of post-emergent herbicides. And just be responsible, spraying conditions, temperature and timing, labeled rates, and cleanup. And that brought us to the end of the class. So I hope you enjoyed this week. Is it 3 or 4? I don't know. I feel like I've lost track. It's Tuesday now. So I think we're going to learn about etymology, which is about bugs. I'm not a huge bug fan unless I'm starting to tolerate like bees, pollinators like butterflies. I don't like wasps or like yellow jackets or stuff like that. But anyway, so I guess I'll leave you with a little note. Like I said in the kind of toward the beginning of the video, if you like a weed, you think it's pretty, like a clover or Virginia creeper, or the Virginia creeper, they're beautiful. in the fall, they turn bright red. You can leave it. It's not going to be like a deterrent in your garden. It's just they're going to be invasive, very competitive, and you can classify what you consider a weed or not. You know, Queen's Anne lace is beautiful. So I want to encourage you to go out and weed your garden so all your pretty flowers can shine. I'll see you on the next one, y'all. Bye.